You're listening to All Things Sports with Mike Davis.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Thank you for joining me today. You are listening to All Things Sports with Mike Davis. This is podcast number 13. Podcast number 13. Hey, I told you we were going to do it, right? But anyway, though, thank you for joining me. If you're listening to this podcast on Spotify or Anchor, I thank you for spending your time with me. If you're listening to the restream of this podcast on YouTube, thank you as well. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel and like and comment on the podcast. New podcasts will air at least 2 days a week, normally Wednesdays and Saturdays. So please feel free to go ahead and share the podcast on any of the social media outlets that you use. I won't take up much more of your time, so let's get into it. All things Atlanta. I like to begin the show with a little something about Atlanta, something that's going on in my hometown where I'm from. The national media is not going to cover what's going on in places outside of your LAs and your New Yorks and Miami when they're good, but any team in Miami for that for that matter. But we already know that due to the coronavirus, it's not much going on. So I was reading the AJC recently, and Braves beat writer Gabriel Burns was asked what are his favorite MLB ballparks to visit. And he goes on and he says, obviously, I'm much more familiar with the National League than the American League. So it's noteworthy to mention that I've never been to Fenway, which ranks near the top of everyone's list. So with his list, he went number 5, Wrigley, home of the Cubs. Number 4, Petco Park, home of the Padres. Number 3 was PNC Park, home of the Pittsburgh Pirates. He went number 2 with is it Dodger Stadium? Dodger Stadium where the Dodgers play. And he went number 1, Oracle Park. Now it's Oracle Park. That's where the San Francisco Giants play. They changed that name like every 2 years. It reminds me of the old Joe Robbie Stadium, which is now Hard Rock Stadium. But growing up, that name changed. It's Pro Player one year, Joe Robbie the next year, is Hard Rock another year. That name changed every other year. And the Giants play is reminding me of that. I remember when I think it was AT&T Park. Wasn't it Pat Bell Park or something when it first opened? So that stadium, that ballpark has changed names quite a bit. But, that's neither here nor there. Excuse me. I wanted to touch on his list. And he mentioned before he got into his list that he had never been to Fenway. I can tell you now, I've been to Fenway. I might be in the minority when I say this. Fenway was a little overhyped. A little overhyped to me. Now, I love singing the Green Monster. I understand when you have some of these old guys, they don't want certain things changed with baseball. I feel the same way. To a degree. Some things I'm fine with changing. I didn't like when they put the bleachers out there on top of the Green Monster. I used to love when the ball would just go over the Green Monster and it disappears out into the street, or it would hit that big net they had back there. But I've been to Fenway, and I won't say that I wasn't impressed, but it wasn't like when I went to Wrigley Field and I saw Wrigley for the first time. So once you see that Green Monster and you see how small that park is, Fenway is small. It is a small ballpark, and that's one of the nice things about it. You don't see it's not this giant park. They try to keep it, um, as close to it as original as it was when it was built. But I was kind of over it once I saw the Green Monster. I really wanted to see the Green Monster and see how big that thing is, in person. Because it's always amazing when you see a home run hit over that thing. And I got the chance to go up to Boston. I saw Fenway, and it it just one thing about me that bothers me is certain things like parking. There is no parking around Fenway at all. I I don't know how fans get to the games, but there is no parking at Fenway, and it just didn't do it for me. It was cool. It was cool to see it. To say you've been there. I saw it. I've been inside the building. You know, um, they did have this cool David Ortiz Lego statue that was in there. But and what's crazy, the team store is not even in Fenway. The team store is across the street. It's a whole other team store across the street, kind of like Wrigley. Now they have kiosks and all that. They sell certain things, but like with Wrigley, you got Wrigleyville, all in that area, and you have a lot of team stores across the street from the ballpark. And that might be because the ballparks were built back in however long ago it was, but that's probably one of the reasons those ballparks don't have team stores in. And I could be wrong. Wrigley could have put a team store in by now, or I just didn't see the team store when I was in there. Like I said, when I went to Wrigley, it was across the street. Now you hear me talking about Wrigley a lot, and that is because Wrigley is number one on my favorite ballparks to go to. I love Wrigley Field. It gives you that you feel the history walking through that ballpark. You know, I didn't really feel that when I was in Fenway. Now, one of the longest home runs in Fenway, they have a seat out in, I believe it's right field, and I think Ted Williams hit the longest home run there, and that seat is marked. I could be wrong. I believe that's why that seat is red. I saw the seat, um, but I believe that is the reason. But like I said, Fenway just doesn't do it for me at all. You know, Boston is not. I don't know. Boston doesn't really do it for me. Period. If you ever been to Boston, Boston is a old city, and it looks like it. It looks like they haven't done nothing in Boston. They it mm. Not like Foxborough, but Foxborough's not in not Foxborough. That's one of those things where you show your age. I was gonna say Foxborough Stadium where the Patriots play. But they don't play in Foxborough Stadium anymore. It is Gillette. Now I've been to Gillette as well. Gillette is awesome. Gillette is nice. I really like the Patriot Stadium, but that's not in Boston. That's out in Foxborough. I think that's like a 45-minute to an hour drive, depending on traffic. But Boston and the Red Sox and Fenway just not my thing. I'll take Wrigley Field any day. Seeing that ivy on the outfield walls. I love seeing the manual scoreboard, the bleachers out in the outfield, the rooftops out there in the outfield on top of the buildings. I love Wrigley Field. I wish we had some of that in Atlanta. I was telling my brother before that, you know, he told me he never been to Turner Field. Now the Braves, they don't play in Turner Field anymore. And I was telling him that, yeah, you didn't miss nothing with Turner Field. Turner Field, this might sound bad. I'd rather go to Fenway than Turner Field. It was just nothing there at Turner Field. There was no history. There was nothing sacred, no hallow, no what am I trying to say? or the words I'm looking for rather. But it was missing something. It was missing that it factor that some of these other parks or stadiums or arenas have, and Turner Field just didn't have it. So I'm hoping that SunTrust Park, which is now Truist Park, which is a nice ballpark, by the way, much better than Turner Field. The sight lines are much better than Turner Field at Truist Park. So I'm hoping the Braves can do that in their new digs out in Cobb County. But I mean, he had a pretty good list. Um, I do want to go to Petco Park, and I'm talking about the writer, the AJC beat writer for the Braves, uh, Gabriel Burns. And like I said, his list was pretty. It wasn't bad. I like his list. Petco Park is a park I want to go to. I actually dated an ex girlfriend of mine. She was from San Diego, and I remember that we were broken up and done, but she knows how I like to go to these ballparks, and she sent me some pictures of her at Petco, which I thought was kind of neat. That was awesome. I'll get out to Petco one day. Uh, Dodgers. Is it what is I need to look that up. What is the Dodgers name? Is it Dodger Park? It's not Dodger Park. Dodger Stadium, I believe that's the name of it. I'm gonna look it up now. I can't believe that as much as I love these ballparks and how they offer different things. I don't know the name of the Dodgers park, and it's Dodger Stadium, which I thought that, but um, for some reason, and in the article it has Dodger Park, but uh, that's what threw me on, like Dodger. I don't Dodger Park, but yeah, Dodger Stadium is another stadium I do want to see. I'm not like I gotta go see it, but one that I do want to go see is now Oracle Park, which home of the San Francisco Giants, which has been called 80,000 different other names since it came into the league. That is one park I do want to go to. He has that at number one. PNC Park, another park in Pittsburgh, I want to go to. But my thing is, if you go to Pittsburgh, what do you do when you're not at the stadium? Someone tell me. What is there to do in Pittsburgh? I need to know this in case I want to go. I can't just go to ballpark, go see the Pirates play whoever, the whole time I'm there. So let me know. I want to know what it is to do in Pittsburgh. I will give you another park not to sleep on. Um, People, again, this is my opinion. Remember, it's your world. I just give my opinions. Okay. But Citizens Bank Park in Philadelphia is not a bad park. I enjoyed going there. It actually is one of my favorite parks to visit. I've been there a couple times, and I've enjoyed it each time I've gone up there to Philadelphia. So if you're there, check it out. Uh, they can do a better job with the Philly cheesesteaks, though. I'm not really into Pat and Geno's. I got caught up in that tourist trap thing. So, they say you got to go to a certain place if you want the good food. You got to go to some of the hoods. You know, if you want the good stuff. I just wasn't a fan of Pat and Geno's. It tastes like tourist attraction. Wow. But anything though, that's the list for Braves beat writer Gabriel Burns. I just wanted to touch on some of the ballparks he's been to. Oh yeah, now before I go, now he said he hadn't been to many American League parks. I did go to Oriole Park, Camden Yards. I think it's called Oriole Park at Camden Yards, something like that. I wish these teams would stop with with the nonsense of adding whatever something at whatever. Look, just name it a park. You don't see Wrigley Field saying Wrigleyville at Wrigley Park. I mean, or at you get what I'm saying. You get what I'm saying. Look, name it one name and leave it at that. But Camden Yards was another uh, great park. I remember the first time I went to Camden, and I wanted to do a tour of Camden Yards. Now, I had no idea the Cubs were in town to play the Orioles that weekend. So it was a Saturday, and me and my girlfriend were up in Baltimore, and I said, well, normally I would order my tickets online. This time I didn't. So I just went up to the ticket window. Hey, I wanted to buy a tour ticket, but unfortunately they were sold out of tour tickets because Cubs fans had came in and they had taken over the city of Baltimore. Chicago fans travel. Cubs fans travel. Cubs fans travel. Chicago, those people love their team. They love the Cubs. I'm not mad at them. I wish Atlanta had that same kind of following. They came and took over Baltimore, and because of that, I was unable to tour Camden Yards. That was my first time, up there in Baltimore. But I did get into Camden Yards later. I had went back and you know I was able to see all the great things Camden had to offer, and they have a team store as well. It's the giant warehouse building that's out there behind right field. So, but again, I just wanted to touch on that. I love ballparks. I love stadiums slash arenas. It's I don't know. For some reason, it's always been a passion of mine. I love seeing, especially baseball parks. I love going to different parks and seeing what they have to offer, and you know, just the different little nuances, especially like the dimensions of the field. I saw. I'll touch on this on the next podcast. I saw a crazy video, and it was also on Twitter where they showed these high schools and colleges that have crazy dimensions. They had one field where center field was like 600 feet out to straightaway center because they had the football field lined up where it came into the field, into the baseball field. So it was odd. I'm hoping they put a fence up to make the dimensions realistic, but I will touch on that on the next podcast. I thought that was something kind of neat and weird at the same time, but anyway, that's all things Atlanta. I'm going to take a break here, and I'm going to catch you guys on the other side. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to All Things Sports with Mike Davis. All right, welcome back. You're listening to All Things Sports with Mike Davis, and I got the ESPN playing on the background uh, right here, and they're advertising The Last Dance, the Chicago Bulls story. A lot of people are saying the MJ doc, but it's not the MJ doc. It is the Chicago Bulls story where they are followed during their last season in, well, the championship teams. That 98 year is chronicling their last year together and all the nonsense they had to go through with dealing with management with both Jerry's, Reinsdorf, and Krause, and they're advertising that documentary here. And excuse me, we're going to touch on that on the next podcast. Won't touch on that today. I have some thoughts and comments on that as well. That's going to be a good documentary right there. I love a good documentary. I especially love I love the I love the Dream Team documentary. That was a very well documentary. If you haven't seen it, go and check it out. It's about the '92 Dream Team and everything that they, uh, everything leading up to Barcelona and what they had to deal with, and it's a good documentary. Excuse me, I'm sorry about that. So, in other NBA news, uh, wow, where'd that music come from? Wow. Hmm. Time to play some music. Wow. Kind of unprofessional, right? I'm not even going to edit that out. That was some nice music that came in out of nowhere. That might have been the wrap it up. The wrap, hey, wrap that ish up, B. That was the Dave Chappelle wrap it up music coming on. Wrap that thing up, B. Wrap it up. Somebody trying to tell me something, I guess. But sticking with the NBA, Rudy Gobert and the Donovan Mitchell beef. I mean, is there beef? They really have beef. So Rudy Gobert is saying that there's no fight with his teammate Donovan Mitchell over their coronavirus diagnosis, and he says that both of them, they've spoken and they're trying to iron things out. And he goes on to say that it is true that we didn't speak for a while after this, but we did speak a few days ago, and Gobert said this Sunday on an Instagram Live, and he goes on to say that we're both ready to go out there and try to win a championship for the Utah Jazz. So my opinion on this is I don't really have much of an opinion. I understand that Donovan Mitchell, he has a right to be upset, but Gobert really, he was being irresponsible. He was being irresponsible, and Mitchell has every right to be upset. And look, the guy wasn't trying to give it to you on purpose. And sometimes you have to take things into context for what it is. And this is not something that anybody tries to pass on purpose. Now, you do have your idiots out there. You have your idiots that, they're going to Walmart, they're going to social places, and, they're trying to be funny, and, they're trying to go viral, and they're coughing on people. And, that's not cool. But I don't think that was Rudy Gobert's intention. Now, what he was doing, touching the mics and being careless, was just dumb. That was dumb. There's no defending that. But I think that Donovan Mitchell has to. I don't think it's a reason for Mitchell to hold a grudge against Rudy Gobert. You can be mad at the guy, and I totally get being mad at the guy. He has every right to be mad at him. But let's be real. Remember, you have some people who have this virus and they don't have any symptoms. Who's to say that it wasn't Donovan Mitchell who gave Rudy Gobert the virus? So I'm just saying. I'm just saying it's something to think about. It's one of those things where, like I said, I don't really have an opinion on it. I'm glad that they're trying to hash it out and talk it out. There's no need to be upset about it. It's not something he did on purpose. It happened. It's over with. Both are healthy. They're fine. The families are fine, and they can move on with their lives. And next time, Gobert, take precaution. Be mindful of others. It's not just you in that locker room, and respect others' space. And be safe. That's all you can do, really. So I'm glad both of those guys are talking it out, and it looks like things are going to be okay in Utah with those two. So transitioning to a little football, the XFL has filed for bankruptcy. Is this really news? Can I say that? Is it too early to say that? Is that really news? A lot of these leagues keep wanting to challenge the NFL. You're not going to challenge the NFL. You can ask other leagues that have tried. And I know the XFL really wasn't trying to take over. They weren't trying to do a LeVar Ball where he makes his own league and says, forget college. I know the XFL, that wasn't their intention. It was almost supposed to be like a minor league or football in the off season. But the XFL's parent company filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, not this Monday, but the Monday that passed last week. The first business day after the league suspended operations and laid off almost all of its employees. In a statement, the XFL attributed the decision to the coronavirus pandemic. The XFL quickly captured the hearts and imaginations of millions of people who love football. Unfortunately, as a new enterprise, we are not insulated, from the harsh economic impacts and uncertainties caused by the COVID-19 crisis. Look, I didn't watch any. I can't say I didn't watch any of the XFL. I tried to. I tried to watch. I said I was going to watch a game. I don't even remember the teams that played. I'm really not into any football that's not the NFL or college football. So I didn't really watch it. I tried watching a game. I did watch highlights. I watched highlights of quite a few of the games. I just couldn't get into it, and I don't know what the stranglehold is the NFL has on these other leagues. And a lot of you are gonna say, "Oh, that's easy. It's money." I get it. I get it. In the XFL, it was a startup company for the second time. Remember, this wasn't their first go around. You had the first go around, years ago with he hates me and all that. And whether you run the midfield to determine, and you wrestle for the ball to determine who gets the ball first, the old XFL. But, you saw what was the league that collapsed before this? It just happened. I can't think of the league. I don't want to say AFL. It was some league. It doesn't surprise me, and I know this is because the crisis that is going on, but I didn't think the XFL was going to last anyway. I've seen, and you have seen a lot of these other football leagues come out. They say that they're going to provide football in a way where we don't have to miss the NFL, but let's be real. That just doesn't happen. It just doesn't. It just doesn't translate the same as NFL football. And maybe that's because you need a few years to really get that thing going and build some storylines, and people can get to know the players. And unfortunately, these leagues they just don't hang on. They don't last. You might get a year, maybe two, and then the league is folding after that. So that is it for the XFL. I've seen the XFL try both times to make it. I don't think there will be a third. I saw somewhere where Vince McMahon is also being sued by the commissioner of the XFL. I will get into that in the next podcast, as well as some other things. All right, so moving on to the TV side of things, ESPN, they are in the news as they are asking their top commentators to take a pay cut. With the sports world on hold because of the coronavirus pandemic, ESPN is asking its top commentators to take a pay cut. ESPN did not say how many commentators have agreed to the reduction in pay. The pay cut follows executives at the networks having their pay reduced by 20 to 30%, depending on the title. So, look, it's not just people who work certain jobs that are feeling the crunch. Now granted, the commentators at ESPN are in a much better situation than regular normal citizens working. And when I say that, I mean doing the essential jobs, or even what you don't consider essential. Some people don't consider, salons and barbershops essential. I consider them essential. I shouldn't have to grow out my hair because the government deems them non-essential. I don't want an afro or whatever, but the government is basically telling me, well, cut your own hair. That's basically what they're telling me. But they're not going to be in those people's situations. I sympathize for those people who aren't able to work, because they've been told that your job is not essential. So you have people who work at gyms, like I said, salons, barbershops, nail techs, and everybody's feeling this crunch right now. It's real. It's real out there. So ESPN is saying, hey, we're asking for people to take pay cuts, and that's that. They're not saying who they've asked or whatnot, but like I said, it's real out here in these streets right now with this coronavirus going on. People stay safe out there. Please stay safe. You have some cities and some states that are opening cities back up. So stay safe out there, and I believe we will get through this pandemic, and everyone will be back on their feet. Hopefully sooner than later. All right, we're going to take a break here, and coming up in the next segment, Bill Laimbeer. Yeah, Detroit Pistons, Bill Laimbeer. That Pistons team, they will not let go of that grudge against Michael Jordan. In the next segment, when we come back, we're going to talk about what Bill Laimbeer said about Michael Jordan and LeBron James. You're listening to All Things Sports with Mike Davis. I'm going to take a break, and I'll catch you on the other side. Don't go anywhere. All right, welcome back. You're listening to All Things Sports with Mike Davis. We got some sad news to get into before we continue with the segment. We had the unfortunate passing of Karl Anthony Towns' mom, Jacqueline Cruz Towns, the mother of Minnesota Timberwolves star Karl Anthony Towns, has died due to complications from the coronavirus, her family said. Last Monday, actually, she was 58 years old. My sympathy goes out, my heart goes out to the Towns family. That's not something anyone ever wants to deal with, and I know, I feel bad for anybody that passes on, and during these times, the coronavirus situation is just it's a bad situation all the way around, and I know this is something that Karl Anthony Towns does not want to deal with. My sympathy and my heart, my prayers goes out to him and his family. And also another passing with Tavares Jackson, former NFL quarterback with the Minnesota Vikings and the Seattle Seahawks. Backed up Russell Wilson for a little bit. I believe he backed him up on that Super Bowl team, but according to law enforcement, Jackson's vehicle hit a tree just before 9 p.m. on Sunday, not this past Sunday, but the Sunday before, causing the car to overturn. It was a single car accident. I did read today that the accident was caused to him losing control of the car due to excessive speed. I know he dealt with some legal things, and I'm not going to touch on that. I don't believe in piling on a person once they've passed on. Let that person rest. It is what it is. I know his family is grieving, and I don't know if he has kids or not, but I know his kids are suffering right now. They're grieving, and that's not something that it's just not appropriate. It's not appropriate to harp on. But Tavares Jackson, I vividly remember him with the Vikings. I know he played against the Falcons once. He, I believe he was coaching in Alabama. He finished his NFL career with 39 touchdowns, 35 interceptions, and a 78.5 QBR rating. So I do remember one thing that sticks out in my mind about Tavares Jackson is the choke slam block. He threw a pick. It was against the Eagles. He was with Minnesota, and I believe the pick was to Asante Samuel. and Samuel had blockers. And when he threw the pick, Minnesota was on their own end of the field. It was a short field. It might have been maybe 20 yards out, if that. And he tried to make a tackle. And I forget who the guy was, but he came and he threw the most vicious block I've ever seen on a quarterback. And that is why they tell you, as a QB, if you throw an interception, get out of the way. Get out of the way. And maybe that's why Cam Newton made that business decision. Remember the Super Bowl, never forget. Since everyone loves to say never forget 28-3, Cam Newton never forget the business decision. You know, kind of petty of me, right? Because I don't really think the two compare. But I just want to say R.I.P. to those two people, Carl Anthony Towns' mom, Jacqueline Cruz Towns, and Tavares Jackson. Unfortunate, just an unfortunate situation for those two families. My heart goes out to those two. Moving on to what's going on with everyone getting jerseys. Everyone wants new jerseys now, but I specifically wanted to touch on the Cleveland Browns new jersey situation. They went back to the old jerseys pretty much. Please, anybody go back? This is why the Browns are who they are. The Browns are who they are. Okay? The Cleveland Browns just went back to their old jerseys. They said, we're just going to go, well, look, we're losing anyway. Let's just go back and we'll just go to the old jerseys and we'll lose that way. We have no new ways to lose. And what's up with all these new jerseys? Why was every team getting a new jersey? The San Diego Chargers might have the best new jersey. I saw what their new jerseys are going to look like yesterday. It's kind of a tribute to the past. But I like the Charger jerseys. Tampa Bay also went back to the old jersey. I also heard that, I read, not heard, but I rather read that Tampa won't be wearing the creamsicle jerseys this year due to NFL rules. So you might not be getting a Tom Brady creamsicle jersey unless you have it made personally. And, the NFL is kind of tricky when you go on the NFL shopping. You want to put names on the back of jerseys. They're tricky when it comes to that. Unless you know a seamstress or somebody that sews and they can put that name and number in that jersey for you, you might not be getting a Tom Brady creamsicle jersey. So, because of NFL rules, the helmet rules, once you decide on your helmet for the season, you must use that helmet throughout the year. You can't switch helmets at all. So, Tampa is not wearing an all-white helmet, which the creamsicle jerseys, that's what they wore. They're going back to more of the Super Bowl year when they won it all. More of that brown, that shiny brown, if you want to call it brown, helmet. And that's another team to me that basically went back to their old uniforms. I don't see what's new about it. They said they made subtle changes. I don't see the subtle changes. It looks the same to me. So I'm not going to lie. I, for one, wanted a Tom Brady creamsicle jersey. Doesn't look like I'm going to get one. Hopefully the NFL rules, they change that rule where you can't change helmets. You have to wear the same helmet for the whole season. So remember that, like I just said, made the statement, that's what's preventing Tampa from wearing the creamsicle jerseys. But hopefully they do. Hopefully. Tampa wore those creamsicle jerseys not too long ago. It was a few years back. I remember. I can't think of the quarterback's name. His name was Josh something, or Josh was his last name. Josh was in his name somewhere. He was a QB. I remember seeing him in the creamsicle jersey for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But, and the Falcons, we got new jerseys. I'm not a fan of them. I don't like them. My brother, he's fine with it. He likes it. I don't like it. It looks more high schoolish, more like city league. Sean Payton came out with a picture and put up the green machine. I believe it was Sean Payton. It was Sean Payton or it was the Carolina Panthers put out a picture of the green machine from the movie The Longest Yard with Adam Sandler and some other NFL players like Michael Irvin and Nelly was in that movie. For those of you that don't remember the movie or haven't seen it, they wear a similar all black jersey with white numbers and red lining around the numbers, and it kind of looks like the Falcons' new uniforms. I don't like the Falcons' new uniforms at all. I think I'm in the minority on this one again. I don't like it. I would have been fine if the Falcons went back to the old uniforms, the old Deion Sanders uniforms, the all black with the silver pants. I like those. And the Patriots, they made they decided to make their color rush jersey their new everyday jersey. I think the Colts also made some subtle changes to their jersey, but this year is just the year for just jersey changes. You know, and honestly, we don't even know we're going to have a football season. You know, with the coronavirus situation going around. You know, so I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. So moving on to the NBA side of things, Bill Laimbeer was on, I forget what show I believe it was on ESPN. So he made a decision. And he said that LeBron James is the best player of all time. That Pistons team, the Bad Boys Pistons that won the 2 titles, I think they went to, what was it, 4 or 5 straight Eastern Conference finals. That team does not like Michael Jordan at all. And they will never give Michael his credit. They will never give those Bulls teams their credit. And I had a buddy of mine, he broke it down like this. He said, if you continuously beat this one guy, i.e. Michael Jordan, would you praise him as being the best if you beat him continuously, constantly, year after year? No, you're not going to say he's the best. You're going to pick the guy who you haven't played. Now, he does certain things better than Michael, and there are things that Michael does better than LeBron, but you're not going to pick the guy that you win against and you beat him every single year. And he really didn't beat you until you were on your way out as a team where they had to grow up. And I say grow up, I mean the Bulls had to grow up. They had to go through the growing pains. They had to go through the Celtics. They had to go through the Pistons. So those Pistons teams, they don't respect Michael. They'll never say it. Well, I won't even say they won't say it because they say it when they say LeBron's the best of all time. Isaiah Thomas does the same thing. He doesn't say anything about Michael Jordan. You know, I know. Look, whatever beef that they've had, look, these dudes are over 50 years old now. That's something that needs to be let go. Look, they got kids now. Some of them are grandfathers. You know, let that go. Let that hate go and embrace what both teams brought to the table. You know, which was good NBA basketball, a rivalry, competitiveness. Embrace it. But, you know, Pistons, they don't want to let it go. Bill Laimbeer saying that LeBron is the best of all time. And he said basically that LeBron came out ready to lead a team. You know, LeBron can do it all. He can score. He can assist the ball. He can rebound. As where Michael kind of had to learn. And Michael had to learn to trust his teammates. Now, I read the book, The Jordan Rules, and he even admitted himself, Jordan, that he had to learn to trust his teammates. He didn't trust them. He felt he had to do everything himself on his own. Now, I don't remember what it was like when Jordan came out. Now, I am an 80s baby. But I couldn't tell you what was surrounding Michael when he came to the Chicago Bulls. With LeBron, it was a little different. You knew that this was going to be the guy in the league, Cleveland, but you didn't think it was going to be now. He got the Cavs to the finals within his first couple of years in the league, which was astonishing. But I agree somewhat with what Lambeer said, where Michael had to learn. You know, and there's nothing wrong with that part. Players got to learn. You know, it's no different from when in the NFL when quarterbacks, they sit, they got to learn. So I get that part of what he's saying, but I still think that Jordan is the best player of all time. I at least think he's a better player than LeBron. Because one thing that bothers me with LeBron, now he's had his games, he's had his moments where he's taken over. But I've seen Jordan where he's taken over multiple games, multiple times. And when it comes down to the last shot, Jordan is taking the shot. He's not looking for a guy in the corner. It's get Jordan the ball and get out of the way. Okay? That's pretty much it. LeBron gets the ball, dribble. Look for a guy in the corner. But I'm sorry, Bill. I don't agree with you. I think LeBron, I think Jordan is the best player of all time. So I'm not going to go too much into the, the Last Dance documentary because I want to save that for the next podcast. But before the Last Dance aired this Sunday, Jordan was worried about him coming off as a horrible guy. You know, he said when people see this footage, and I'm not sure that they're going to be able to understand why I was so intense, why I did things the way I did them, why I acted the way I acted, and why I said the things I said. So the Last Dance just aired this past Sunday. Again, I'm not going to get all into it, but Michael Jordan has nothing to be sorry about. In my opinion, he's the greatest of all time. When you win championships, you get that leverage. You can do certain things that other guys can't do. So, look, and you got to remember, this is 20 plus years ago, okay? You know, I'm pretty sure if someone saw what I was doing 21 years ago, they would think I was a horrible guy too, you know? So, my thing to that is don't worry about coming off as being horrible. But on my next podcast, which will air later this week, we're going to talk about that first Last Dance. It was a doozy, so to speak. But I'm going to take one more break here, and I'm going to come back with the news story of the week, or the midweek. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to All Things Sports with Mike Davis. I'll catch you after this break. All right, welcome back to the last segment of All Things Sports with Mike Davis. I appreciate you spending your time with me. I really do. You don't know how much this really means to me. But in our midweek news story of the week, there are some things they just shouldn't ask on Jeopardy. You just shouldn't do it at all. Because I'll be fair here. There are some things I don't know the answer to. You know, I'm not qualified, or I don't study in certain areas of whatever the question is asked. And that should be said for some contestants on Jeopardy. Okay, so there was a contestant recently on Jeopardy who thought that Babe Ruth broke the Major League Baseball color barrier. Yeah. This isn't going to go well. All right, so when it comes to the show Jeopardy, the contestants are, they're some of the smartest you will ever see in life. But all of them are notoriously terrible when it comes to knowing sports. One of the question was, one question was one of the topics covered in a Major League Baseball course at Arizona State is the player who broke this. Let's see. And I'm saying that all wrong. Okay. The question was one of the topics covered in Major League Baseball in a Major League Baseball course at Arizona State is this player who broke the color barrier in 1947. The contestant said Babe Ruth and said it with confidence. I saw the video. She was very confident in her answer. Oh, wow. It's not much I got to say on that. I'm giving her a break because, like I said, there are some things. But you know what? I think that's something you should know. That's something that's even taught in history. They teach that in not even high school. That's one of the first things they teach you. Probably going back to elementary school. I knew who Jackie Robinson was. You know. So I don't know. I don't know if I can give you a pass. I don't know. I'm trying to. All right, I can't give her a pass. All right, I'm sorry. I can't do it. Sorry, Jeopardy contestant. I tried. They won't let me do it. All right. So because of that, I'm sorry. I got to do it. You should have known it wasn't Babe Ruth. Oh, wow. Well, stat line of the week. All sports leagues, because no one's playing. Everyone got a big fat zero. So you know what that means. Hit them again. All right, that's all I got for you today. I'm going to try to get the Dave cheesesteaks here in Atlanta. For some reason, I'm craving a Philly cheesesteak, and I have to get to this place. I know it's no parking downtown. I will find a way. Big Dave cheesesteaks, if you hear me, hook me up. You already took $13 from me. Okay, I charged that. Look out for me. Hey, look, guys, thanks for taking the time to include my podcast to your day. If you're listening to the restream of this podcast on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and like and comment on the podcast. New podcasts will air at least 2 times a week, normally Wednesdays and Saturdays, so look out on those days. Report on Spotify, so please share the podcast on your social media outlets that you use. You've been listening to All Things Sports with Mike Davis, and remember, it's your world. I'm just giving my opinion. I'm out. Peace.
You're listening to All Things Sports with Mike Davis.